Welcome back to my channel, Teresa's Crafty Cabana. I'm playing with some more of my alcohol inks today, and I wanted to test out using just one set of colors at a time instead of mixing my colors all together. So I'm starting with my purple, and I'm picking 3 colors that I wanted to blend together, and I'm using my just 91% alcohol, a blower tool. Occasionally I'll throw in my blow dryer on a low setting, and then I'll come in with some textures and just give it some interest. But I wanted to see how the different colors will kind of blend in with each other, if I can get a nice variation by just using the colors in the same color family. So that's kind of what I'm experimenting with, but I also have a plan for these prints. I'm making a project, and I think that having the individual colors will all look great together. I'm going to start each of my prints pretty much the same. I start with some alcohol on the plate, then I bring in the colors, the 3 colors for whatever color family I'm working on. I blend them out, and then I use my blow dryer just to get them set just a little bit, and then I'll come in with different textures. And in this case I have my honeycomb texture that I created, and this is just honeycomb die cut embossed onto a very thick cover stock, and I've already used it a couple of times in my last video. One thing I noticed with these paper textures, because I made some feathers as well, they will transfer because there's alcohol ink on them. They'll transfer to your project. So I kind of didn't realize that at first. So it can be a cool thing if you know which colors you would want to bring into your project based off of what colors are on your textures. At this point, I really liked how the feathers were starting to look like they had a nice amount of color on them, and they were getting some interest. So I ended up die cutting quite a few of the feathers so that I can use different ones throughout my project, and that way I didn't have to keep using the same color one onto the next color and losing the cool design that I was starting to see. And then that way I'll have a bunch of feathers at the end that I can use in a project as well. This is a makeup applicator that I got at Dollar Tree, and I featured it in my last video. If you missed that video, don't forget to check that one out. I did some layering with this spatula and a kitchen spatula over my stencils, and I will be using those papers that I created for those jelly prints in probably the same project that I'll be using these jelly prints in. So I'm just bringing in some gold. This is the golden fluid iridescent gold, and just making sure to cover the backs of some of my texture and some of my feathers. And then I'm bringing in a little more texture over the top of the gold while it's still wet. And then I'll come in after the gold has dried, and I'm bringing white as my final layer to pull up this print. And it's hard to tell when I'm jelly printing on my plates that are stained that it's purple. It almost looked like orange. So as I go along, I always have to remind myself what color I'm on, because it doesn't look like the color that it actually is. So I kept my 2 5x7 gel plates lined up on a piece of copy paper because I want to be able to layer or flip this over and make double-sided prints. And this is just 110-pound Nina White cardstock, and so you can see I've got a nice variation there. Now I'm going to come in and go down the rainbow here of the alcohol inks that I have out, and I've got my blue colors that I'll pick. And I just make sure that I have a layer of alcohol on the plate. Then I laid down my alcohol colors, and then I put a little more alcohol over the top. I just want them to be nice and runny so that they blend together really well and they just kind of cover the plate. If they're too dry, they really won't move. So as a reminder, even though it looks like green, these are my blue colors. Then I came in with my blow dryer and I just let that dry for a minute. It was very wet. I had put down a lot of alcohol to get it to move. So I did use my blow dryer to get a little bit of it to dry. I did another texture from my embossing folder. This is a 3D texture that looks like kind of like leather. Once that layer was dry, I came in with my stencil here. This is designed by Eddie Reyes at Eddie Makes Art, and this is called the Flores Geometricas, and it's a really cool flower stencil. And I brought in just parts of the gold to fill in some areas of the flowers without covering the whole background. And then I just removed my stencil and let the gold dry on the plate. And then I did the same thing where I came in with my white to pull the print. And then I took the other side of the jelly print that I had just made with the purple and I flipped it over and I had lined it up with that piece of paper. That way I knew I was getting at least the center of those jelly plates. I tried to press down really well and I used my candle lid Baron to try to get enough pressure. The part where you really want to focus on is the center where the two gel plates mix together, and some of the times mine don't feel like they're the same height, so I really have to press down to make sure it transfers. So now I have a two-sided print with the purple and the blue, and the flowers look really pretty. And now I'm going to just keep going and I'll come in with my green colors next. And I have just a variation, a light green, a medium green, and kind of like a turquoisey green. I started pouring my alcohol from the bottle because my little tiny bottle only lasted about one print time doing this. So I just gave up on that and just started pouring from my larger bottle. For whatever reason, my greens weren't very vibrant. They were nice soft colors, but I had used some brighter or more intense greens, but for whatever reason, it just didn't show very vibrant. So I don't know, maybe I blew too much of it off or blended too much of it out. I did let that dry, and I'm coming in with another stencil and some gold paint from Golden Fluid, just getting a little bit more of a different design on this one. And then I'm using my little brayer and this ribbon from Dollar Tree to just pull out a little bit more design on the sides here. And this is a new piece of the Nina White cardstock, 110 pound. Just pressing that down to get my green side. And I think that looks really pretty with the pop of the gold behind the green areas. And you can see where that purple comes through. When I was using that texture plate, it pulled in some purples, which is pretty cool. Next, I'm going to bring in my yellows and a touch of orange with my yellows. This process was very relaxing to do. I just like dropping the colors down and seeing how they mix together and just watching them kind of move around on the jelly plate. I think alcohol inks are very relaxing and fun to work with, especially when I don't really have much expectation of what they're gonna do. I was just excited to get some nice colors and get prints that had some of every color, but not each color inside of each print. Once that dried, I came in with a different stencil this time, and I used my Perfect Pearls. I have a gold, a light gold, and a copper. The Starburst stencil is from PM Artist Studio, and I think this one's so fun, especially for summertime. And in this case, since I was using my yellows and oranges, I thought that this stencil was perfect for this print. And it shines up nice, and then I'll do the same for the other side, since this is a 5x7 stencil. I'll put a link to the stencils that I'm using and the names of them in the description below. I also like to buff off my extra powder before I remove my stencil. And now I'm ready to add my white. And these two prints are going to be pulled up just behind my green prints. And here are the two yellow prints. They definitely look like fun bursts of sunshine. I like all the colors in the honeycombs and how the yellows and oranges kind of mix together. Next up, I'm going to do my orange prints. And this is just 3 different orange colors. Actually, I used 2 oranges and a flamingo color, which is kind of a pink, but it has an oranger tone to it. I had made a second one of these honeycomb textures with a clean sheet of paper just because I knew that the purple and blue colors were going to start transferring onto my gel prints if I didn't do that. So I do have a clean sheet that I started out with, and I had already used it on my yellows. I realized I had missed recording the area where I did the stencil and the copper, I believe I used, over the mosaic stencil from PM Artist Studio. And I did let that dry, and then I'm coming in with my white. For my last set, I am coming in with my pinks, and I did pull in my boysenberry because it's more of a pinky purple, and that's a little bit darker than the other two pinks that I have. While those are drying, I thought I'd show you what the feathers look like. These are just all the feathers that I made from these prints. I really like that orange one with what looks like speckles on it, and the pink one has the dots. I'm coming in with my perfect pearls again, and this is another stencil by PM Artist Studio designed by Darcy Sanders. I love this one. And I just bring in my 3 colors until the background is filled in, and then I'll repeat it on the other gel plate. Now I'm ready to pull these last 2 prints, and it will be on the back side of the orange prints. Apparently I didn't press down very well on this one. It had dried without pulling up all of the paint, and in the center too, I didn't press that well as either. But that's okay because I was able to get most of the color up, and those ones that are left on the gel plate I'll just use on another print. But these are the pink and purpley colors together and the pearl powders in the background. I actually like that there's some white areas too. And it almost like a little bit of yellow is in there as well. I really like those just slight bringing in different little colors here and there from the little embossed pieces that were transferring some of that color. And here are all of the feathers that I got, and I will probably either use a pen on these or something to just bring in a little bit more texture that looks like a feather. I really like how those turned out, and then my prints turned out very vibrant and super bright and colorful, happy. The project I'll be working on next, I'll share a video on that one, and this is going to be the purpose of the two-sided prints. You'll see why I wanted to have two sides, and that will be in my next video. So thanks for following along and for watching my process. And let me know which of these colors do you like the best. I think my favorite of just the color in general is probably the pink with the purple. I don't know, those colors together just are such happy colors, and I really like the pinks and purples. So that, and I like them all together. I guess I just love color. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy crafting, y'all.